KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack!
Good morning. Boy, we have a packed house today.
Holy cow.
With us today are some representatives of the TRLP, and they will tell you what TRLP is. We've got Tom Gallagher in the room, Ray Wade, Lauren Fries, and Chance Brown. Welcome.
Thank you.
As well.
Thank you.
So, Wade, let's start with you. Let's talk about what TRLP is and what it means.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Happy to be here. Well, TRLP stands for the Texas Realtors Leadership Program. It is put on every year by the Texas Association of Realtors in conjunction with local boards. And in our case, that's the Houston Association of Realtors. They're very intense training where future leaders of the association are put through about a 9-month training with some of the best minds.
Kind of like a pregnancy.
A little bit. Some of the best minds in the business.
Without the pain.
Well, except for spokesperson training day, but we'll talk about that, anyway. But we're happy to be a part of that class this year, 2013, and each year we do a legacy project, and Chance...
Well, we're going to pass that over to Chance Brown, who's here. So talk about what your legacy program, and reach out to the people out there and tell them what you want them to know about it and what you need.
Well, our legacy program this year is to take the lessons we've learned over the last 5 years of a down housing market and pass them on to future generations so that they'll be better prepared financially to weather the storm in the future. The program we're doing is putting Dave Ramsey's principles of personal finance into local area high schools to give basic financial education to high school kids as they enter the real world. And what we are looking for, we're running an adopt-a-school program, so we're looking for sponsors to come out and sponsor their local high schools.
Tell me what that sponsorship looks like.
The sponsorship is $2,500. That's going to provide all the class materials, the workbooks, and everything the kids need to get this education. In return, the sponsor gets advertising on Dave Ramsey's website. They get mentions in all of our press and PR materials that go out, and the workbooks that go home with the kids are all branded with their logo.
Excellent. And Lauren, you have anything to add to that?
It's a great project to educate our youth and our high school students about credit and buying a home and just going into college, because they'll get swamped with credit cards and all these opportunities. And a lot of people do not have this education in their homes because their parents don't even know about this, or they don't understand financial literacy. So this is a great opportunity for a company to provide education to many students.
So the people that benefit would be companies who want these people as their future patrons. I mean, like a home building company or mortgage company that would say, you know what, we want to teach them how to be responsible so I can do business with you at a later date.
Yes, it would be just not in the real estate industry, but even people in auto sales, anything that you have to buy, just, auto sales, beauty salons, anything, they can come and sponsor this program. So it's just not limited to the real estate industry.
Well, I tell everybody is financial literacy is extremely important. One of the things I've always gotten on my soapbox about is the fact is, what is a good age to start teaching somebody about financial responsibility? Any age is a good age, Right. And so I teach my daughter and my son at this age from counting pennies and dimes and quarters and how to save things and how to balance a checkbook. And it seems sometimes extreme, but guess what? It actually ends up working. And one of the things that we have to do is, in fact, there was a study that came out here recently that said the foundation of any modern society starts with education, and financial education is what is needed the most right now, because most of the time we're going through high school and we're not taught how to live life on a day-to-day basis from that
Absolutely. And there was a ING study that came out a couple of years ago that said 78% of parents would rather talk to their kids about sex and drugs than talk to them about money.
Wow.
So, it's a big void that needs to be filled.
No, I would absolutely agree. It's a big void. Well, how can we reach out? How can we reach you if we want to get more information on this?
You can call any one of us, or call HAR. My personal phone number, Chance Brown, is 281-380-7631. I'd be glad to set you up. Reach out to HAR.
That's great. Well, that's great.
They can always just reach out to the Real Estate Rat Pack on
too.
Facebook, and we will get them in touch
Yeah,
with
I think we have to go ahead
the
and
group.
post that on our website as well. I
Yeah,
think that'd be
we'll
nice.
have it up there.
We'll definitely have it up there. Well, thank y'all very much for coming in
Thank you.
today, letting us know a little bit about that. Again, that's the Texas Realtors Leadership Program. And definitely get in touch with them. Rob, I pronounced it correctly that time.
You did wonderfully.
I did wonderfully well.
I make note of that all the time.
Well, one of the things that we're doing on this show is actually this show has a theme today, and it's actually the seniors, the real estate senior show. And
It
so
is.
one of the things that we're actually going to be doing is we're actually really talking about what we have some really good guests in regards to seniors.
I have a charity event that I need to mention today as well.
Absolutely.
Which is going to be fun with the weather, but a good friend of mine, Kay Harville, is a part of this group, and I wanted to promote this. We're always a big fans of promoting charity events here on the show, and they have a really, really fantastic group that they're benefiting, the Wounded Warriors Program. There is a car show, if you can imagine all that going on today, out in Conroe at the West Conroe Baptist Church on Loop 336 out there. And the cars are starting to show up at 9:30, and motorcycles as well. Those are coming in at 11:30. So make sure you guys go out, see the cars out there, and support that organization. Obviously, Wounded Warriors is a fantastic program, and we definitely want to give them some press. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you very much. In the house today, we have Kim Hegwood, who is the Hegwood and Associates PC. It's an attorney who works for the elderly. Welcome.
Hi.
So let me ask you this question. This is probably, I don't know the process. Somebody comes to you, they have either elderly parents or they're elderly themselves, and they said, I'm on a plan to provide for my family. What's the first step we're going to do?
The first thing that we look at when clients come in, we look at their income and assets. Because depending on what their income is, depending on what their assets are and where they're located, whether it's retirement, whether it's just money they've saved, whether it's overpaying a life insurance policy, you look at the entire financial picture in order to give them a good plan.
Okay. Well, I've heard it when you mentioned like the insurance and overpaying and things like that. I've heard of, I had an insurance person who was telling me about I think it was a 1035 exchange where actually you can get monies now. Like if you had $1 million policy and you're 85 years old, they might buy that policy from you for a factor, like $600,000 or $700,000. Have you ever worked with those types of programs?
Actually, I have a client that does.
Okay.
That's what he does. He works with a group that's what they do.
And so when in doing that, that actually provides some cash now that they can use or invest or distribute rather than wait to their demise, in which case typically at that time it gets thrown into an estate.
Correct.
Okay. And so when you're setting up these estates and stuff like that, what are you actually working to do? Are you just so they can provide or look out for paying taxes, or talk about what you do?
Most of the time we're looking at just really meeting client goals. What's the client want? What are they looking to do?
I want to live forever. How can we work that out?
That I can't help them with. But for the most part, you're looking to, because every client's different. Every financial picture is different with each client. Most of them, by the time they come to my office, they're looking to put a plan in place. A lot of them are looking for asset protection because they missed the long-term care goal. As far as getting that, or they don't qualify, or they've gone too far, and it's just cost is just astronomical at their age. So we're looking for preservation of assets. How are we going to pass our legacy to the next generation? How do we want them to get it? We have a lot of parents that are providing a lot of extra things for their kids because their kids are not real good with money.
Which is why we need that TRLP program.
Right.
Yeah, they're just issues. Could be divorce, could be addiction. I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play with families. So their goal is just to really try to put them together, the plan that really works for them and gives them what they want.
What's the most misunderstood thing about what you do?
Probably that when you do an estate plan, it's not just something you do once and never do again. I think that is what most people, it's amazing the number of people that come into my office and they've done it once and they're like, I have to amend it. I have to change it. And so one of the huge things that we really encourage people to do is update their power of attorneys. I can't tell you how critical that is in this day and time because most financial institutes, they fight you to take a power of attorney. So you want to make sure that the power of attorney you have is very current. With our clients, we update them every year for them to make sure they've got good, up-to-date, ready-to-go documents all the time, because it makes their agents that are using them easier for them to be able to do that.
And that was what I wanted to ask you, because one of the things I hear a lot, it actually comes about a lot, is that there's different types of power of attorneys out there. You have a medical power of attorney. You have, real estate-based power of attorney. You have different powers of attorney. And sometimes individuals get confused as to why you might want to have a different power of attorney or a broad and sweeping power of attorney. Can you go over some of maybe the little types that exist out there, and what are some of the most common?
Well, the two power of attorneys that you need to have in life, because ironically enough, they prevent guardianships down the road. So you want to make sure you have them. You have a medical power of attorney that says, if I can't make medical decisions, who's going to make them for me? That's predominantly what it does. But a lot of people have medical power of attorneys out there that have no HIPAA language, and they don't have that extra HIPAA document that says, okay, agent, you can look at my medical records. So that way, if there's anything going on with the person, you want to make sure that your agent has the right to do that. Right. The other one is your statutory durable power of attorney. And that one is a very powerful document. So we caution clients very carefully about picking that agent. I tell parents, it's got to be the kid that is the best with their money, no credit issues. If they're good with their money, they'll be good with yours. You never want to give somebody a powerful document that can't handle their
Correct.
own, issues. When you have that power of attorney, your statutory durable power of attorney, you can set it up so that it's effective immediately, or you can set it up it's effective upon incapacity or disability. In that case, if you choose the latter, you have to have two doctors to put in writing that, that the person is incapacitated in order for it to be effective. Sometimes trying to get two doctors in this day and age to put anything in writing can prove to be difficult. So
Absolutely.
it's a little harder to use, when you use that, but not impossible, depending on whether the person sees a regular physician and all those kind of things that come into play and that knows them well.
Do you see that, one of the topics we have on the show on a regular basis is what you don't know can hurt you. You don't know what you don't know. What do you think is the most common issue? I know in the credit industry and helping people repair their credit, there's just some behaviors that are typical that people do that they are completely unaware that are damaging to them on the credit side. Are there behaviors out there? Do you have clients that come to you with issues that you would love to see, hey, if they just knew this, I would have less clients, but I'd be helping a lot of people if they knew this?
A lot of times it's just getting your plan. So you want to make sure that it's there. Education is important. We do a lot of education. We do a lot of free seminars. We go out to the public as much as we can, because if you educate someone, they're going to be a much powerful consumer. I'll tell clients, if you just have these two documents, you don't need something else. So we want to make sure that, that they have the things that are going to be the most effective for them.
Gotcha.
Because that's going to be crucial.
Well,
we all took a breath and then stared at you.
And one of the things I was going to ask really fast also, and we see this, you mentioned, when you're doing these power of attorneys to make sure you have an individual who's generally financially responsible, et cetera. One of the things, and Jason mentioned this one time, is that one of the things in his area is the number one decision maker is generally the eldest female, believe it or not. And so one of the things I was going to ask you is, do you see a certain prototype of an individual? Is generally speaking also for the senior care that you're putting in place? Is it generally the eldest child, or is it more gender related? Do you see anything like that?
Women typically are your caregivers.
Okay.
Normally, what we see predominantly, I should say. It's usually the kid that's the closest to them that the parents tend to choose. A lot of them still have, I need to choose the oldest one because they're the oldest and they're going to be upset. But we try to really caution them and talk to the kids. And, and I'll sit down and talk to children as well. Here's why we're making these decisions. It has nothing to do with you personally. It may be that we want someone closer to mom and dad. We want somebody that's going to be there, somebody that's very involved, that's predominantly doing it anyway, because that's crucial. You want the best person for the job. It doesn't matter if they're male, female, oldest, youngest. Ironically enough, a lot of our caregivers, the women typical caregivers, are usually the younger kids and not necessarily the oldest.
That is so amazing. We are coming up against time right now and against a break. That is Kimberly Hegwood with Hegwood and Associates. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And that's a recipe for making love. And if you've made it right, you'll know it. It's not like anything.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. We have a great show planned right now, and it's all about seniors and about what we can do in regards to our senior community, senior care, planning, trust, reverse mortgage, which we'll talk about right now. We want to hear from you, though, so if you have a question, give us a call, 800-808-5548. We have some great experts in the house. Rob, who's our next guest?
And we have Mary Fox, who incidentally is with my company, Prudential Anderson Properties, and she's also an SRES designation, which is a senior real estate specialist. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you very much.
And so what we want to talk about is that, people are moving up, moving down, moving over, moving out. When you are working
Moving on up.
moving on up to the east side. Everybody breaks into song. Y'all are watching too much television.
That's almost appropriate for our senior show. That was showing our age there.
And so typically when you get contacted by somebody, and I'm going to say elderly, it really is anyone that's over 55 is considered in that age bracket. I was talking with some other people who do kind of that work, and people in their 70s and 80s, what are they doing right now?
Well, each senior is different, and I think as a realtor, my job is to listen to them. Most of their home purchases have to deal with their lifestyle. They, even at 70, may still be in the workforce. So what they want is location and close to their job. But depending on their lifestyle is then we plan and see what kind of home purchase that suits them the best.
Yeah, because 70 is the new 50,
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So,
Let's
but
hope
that
so.
is true, because I remember my first memories of my grandparents who are now deceased. They were old. They acted old. They thought old. They were younger than I am now. So the lifestyles are changing. And we talk a lot about real estate. People don't buy homes. They do buy a lifestyle.
That is awesome. One of the things we have right now, we are a live show, so we take live phone calls. And right now we have Anatral, who's calling in. I hope I pronounced that right. How are you doing?
Okay.
Thanks for calling in. I guess you have a question you want to ask?
Yes, I wanted to know if you guys have programs for first-time home buyers. I wanted to know more about your program and if you offered, let's see here, give me 1 second, programs for people who have been in the military.
Okay, so are you looking
DTA
from a...
and DTI programs, do you have that? Or MCC programs?
So okay, from a financing perspective, yes. From as far as the programs do exist, we obviously love our veterans. An MCC, which is a mortgage credit certificate, is also available out there if you qualify and take the education courses for it. Being a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's still a lot of good financing available, and there's a lot of good homes available out there as well. It's just a matter of, number one, we go to everybody is find a good realtor to get with. In this case, we have a great one in the studio. And then also get your financing set up correctly and understand what you qualify for in that regards.
Absolutely. And what I do is when I start working with a first-time home buyer, I set them up and give them choices as to their financial providers. And I try to match the financial providers to their personalities and their needs. So I have, several resources that I use so far as financing, and absolutely those options are available.
Does that answer some of your questions there, Anatral?
Yes, and would you be able to send me an email on some of the things that do you guys have a website that I can go to check out what you guys are offering?
Absolutely. Well, do me a favor. One of the things, you can go to realestateratpack.com, but if you hold on right now and we get you off the air right here, stay on the line, though. We'll get your phone number, and I'll make sure some of the professionals here get back with you.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Stay on the line, and we'll get back to you here in 1 minute.
So are you seeing, they're choosing to go to communities that are away from town, moving close in, or is there a trend that you're noticing?
I see a lot more seniors wanting to live closer to either their work or what they do in life. If they play tennis, they want to live closer to tennis courts. And what I've been sort of surprised about is seniors don't necessarily want to downsize. What they want is an increase in their convenience level and what makes them more comfortable. So if we have a senior that's still working downtown, they want to live close to downtown. If they play tennis, they might want to be close to a country club.
Oh, great. I'm glad you brought up features. So tell me what they're typically looking for. And I say they, I'm part of they. So I do kind of know what the answer is, but I want to see.
Tell me what I'm looking for.
Tell me what I mean, are they looking for the outdoor kitchens? Are they looking for, what specifically is that group have a tendency to gravitate?
Well, a lot of seniors are looking for a layout in a house that perhaps all the living is one story, or the master bedroom's downstairs, and they put all the kids and grandkids upstairs.
I put them in a hotel, but that's okay.
They're looking for low maintenance because they don't want to spend their golden years mowing the grass and taking care of the house, painting the house, and that kind of thing.
And I think it's important also maybe to distinguish is, one of the things we mentioned at the very beginning of the segment was, seniors are really considered 55 and older. But also what I really look at nowadays is you have your senior population, which I really consider, your one group of individuals 55 to 75, and then you have your group 75 to 80 and higher right there. And we're seeing sort of two distinct patterns a lot of times. As you mentioned, your active seniors, those individuals who are really active, want to be closer to the things they like to do or to work because they're still in the work environment. But what are you seeing also from some of the seniors that are, let's say, 75 or 80 or older? What are some of their lifestyle changes that they're looking for at this time?
Well, they're looking more to be close to medical facilities and really groups that they associate with, whether it's their church group or whatever they are interested in. They want to be close to people, their children, their grandchildren, and they want to live in those circles.
I would agree with that. One of the things my grandfather personally got older, that's what he started doing. He started migrating more towards being towards the family, whereas when he was 55, he wanted to get away from the family as much as possible. So I can definitely see how that, that's a big change right there. And I would imagine the simplicity also in trying to make sure they right size. One of the things, as you mentioned, lower maintenance, where they don't have to go out there and do anything associated with yard. Things that are one stories. I mean, are you seeing things that are prevalent in those areas?
I really do. I think I have many seniors that even if they want a large house, 2-story, to have the master bedroom and living areas downstairs, and they don't ever go upstairs.
Right.
They have them for guests. A lot of seniors have a lot of their friends that come visit. And so they want to have that extra room and space for them also.
And, one of the questions I was going to ask you is what made you go out and get your designation on the senior side? I mean, I always like to ask that question because I think it's very important for us to have individuals like we have in this room today. We have a lot of individuals whose sole focus is to take care of our senior population or to work in that area. What made you get involved from a real estate perspective and get that designation and that focus on the senior side?
Well, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers. And as they tend to be younger, they bring their parents to get their approval, and they want the parents to see their house. And so I sort of get to know the whole family. And so pretty soon I had the parents come to me and say, hey, we want to relocate. We want to buy a new house. Can you sell our old house? And we want to move here. And so I sort of get to know all the generations in a particular family. I'm friends with most of my clients, and so I get to know aunts and uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, and their parents. And so as my business grew and I started helping all age groups,
right,
that I thought it would be a good thing to really look at their needs and what they're looking for.
That is neat.
And from a financing standpoint, and Chris or Mary, either one of you can answer this, when you go to go financing and somebody's 75 years old, what do they look at?
Well, from a financing perspective, let me first and foremost start off is you cannot discriminate in reference to age, color, creed, religion, or sex, right? So an individual who's 75 years old can get a loan just like an individual who's 25 years old, as long as they qualify and have all their mediums. Now, one of the things we're going to be talking about in the next segment is financing. There's different options for financing, right? I mean, a lot of times you might own your home, and so a reverse mortgage, and we have our reverse mortgage specialist in here, is a very, very good way to look at things. But if you're still an active senior, if you're still an individual who can afford to buy a home, if you can prove your assets and your income and your ability to, generally speaking, repay, you're going to qualify like anyone. I mean, we qualify people that are 25 years old and people that are 90 years old. So it really has nothing to do with that. And like I said, no one in the industry should ever discriminate or bring age into that conversation because, number one, it's illegal. But number two is, first and foremost, let's go there. But number two is that, financing is available at all ages as long as you make and what anybody cares about financing is the criteria to meet those needs has to be standard across the board. And as long as they do that, they're absolutely fine.
If you were to give, it's kind of the same question I had for Kim earlier, the questions that we don't know to ask. If you had a senior that was looking at moving, perhaps the family home they've had for their lifetime, they're looking to downsize or they're looking to relocate, is there any advice that you would tell them to start off with? Would there be some specific questions you'd want to educate them on that they would know to ask their realtor or who they're working with?
Some of the questions that I ask is I talk to them more about what they're doing in their life. And that gives me a lot of clues as to what properties to show them and what properties to stay away from. And I think a lot of my job as I'm talking to them and listening to them and their lifestyles changes and where they want to be in 5 years or 10 years, then that gives me a lot of information there. And my job is to listen and then to take it from there and look for properties that fit them. And each senior is different. And even the wife and the husband can be different. Maybe the husband's still working and the wife is not working outside the home right now. So she wants to be able to walk to restaurants and possibly walk to the grocery store. And the husband's still in the workforce. So that's not as important to him as it is to the wife.
Do you ever see anybody that's already established a trust buy and sell through the trusts?
I have not. I have seen more lately seniors buying cash and what they're doing, and it's very emotional for them to give up their home that they have lived in the majority of their life where their kids grew up. It's a very emotional experience, and when they sell that, they want to roll over those funds, and they really would like to not have so much mortgage over their head. And so I'm seeing a lot of them roll in and do either cash transactions or large down payments.
Yeah, of course, in this market, cash is king because I know that when you're having multiple offers and you come in with a cash offer, you're in first place typically. So that's always good to have.
One of the things that'd be interesting to see 50 years from now, and I'm saying this in a good way, is because the generation right now, our senior population of 80, let's say 80 to 90, they were accustomed to working at the same job for 50 years. They were accustomed to living in the same home for 50 years. And the new generation we have now that's coming up, our 20s and 30 years old, their generation now has moved homes multiple times. They've moved up. They've bought their first home, moved into their second home, into their third home. So it's interesting to see that generational change that sort of happened, whereas our truly senior population in that range that we mentioned are very emotional about the sale. And yet the younger generations, especially our 55-year-olds mentioned, they're absolutely fine with changing multiple times during their lifetime, especially above 55 because they're so used to it when they were young. It becomes, it's one of those things. It's interesting to see how our population is starting to change and how that's sort of impacting the area of real estate in our senior community.
What I'm seeing now is that first-time home buyers, young professional men and women, they're now getting married and starting their family. So maybe 3 to 5 years ago, I sold them their first house, and now they're looking for a new house that will accommodate being married and having children. They're looking at school districts, which school districts were not important to them when they bought their first house because they were young and single. So I'm seeing that the younger generation, as you mentioned, is moving more times, and it's not as emotional to them as it is to, say, our parents or, our seniors.
Well, Mary has one of the best attributes a realtor can have. Mary listens, and I can't tell you how important that is, and I can't tell you how many people don't understand that art. I applaud you because she's a great agent. She quietly goes about her business, very generous, and people gravitate to her.
How do we get hold of you?
You can find me at Prudential most of the days. I do go into the office most of the days, but I'm on Facebook. I'm on HAR, and you can, Google me. So, and
you want to give out a phone number? It's a good time to do it.
I absolutely do, and I answer my phone 9 times out of 10.
She does.
I do
Even
answer my phone.
Even though she knows me, she still answered it.
I did. My phone number is 713-907-0883.
And that's Mary Fox with Prudential Anderson Properties. Give her a call. She's a great agent.
We're coming up against time again. We're going to go on a break right now, but we'll be right back.
Was that a fast 15 minutes?
Scarlet billows start to spread. Fancy.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5800. 5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. You know, time flies when you're having fun, and let me tell you, this is a subject matter I absolutely love, which is everything associated with seniors from not only a real estate standpoint, but from an estate planning standpoint. We're obviously right now going to be talking about home care standpoint. We have Jason Kirkpatrick in the studio. How you doing, Jason?
Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. Likewise. You know, let us know a little bit about New Frontier Home Health and what you do out there.
Well, New Frontier is a home care agency, and we serve the greater Houston area. We provide in-home care for seniors. We allow them to remain independent in the home, whether it's for a few hours a week or 24 hours a day in some cases. We're there to help make every senior's life comfortable and also take a little bit of pressure off the family because the kids have their own families, their own jobs, their own lifestyles to take care of at least Monday through Friday, and they want to make sure that they've got somebody there to take care of mom and dad.
You know, it's interesting because we were just talking about from a real estate perspective, obviously individuals that are moving, and we got a new generation that moves a lot, and we have our older generation that is very attached to their homes. You know, what are you seeing out there? Are you seeing some of the individuals you're taking care of have lived in their homes for a long time and want to maintain or let's say extend that opportunity by bringing in home care, or what are you seeing?
Well, I'll be honest with you, the typical customer that we see is basically whether they lived in their home for a long time or they moved here to be closer to family. It's kind of 50-50 in that mix. But typically, it's a son or a daughter that's looking for help for their mom or dad, and the mom or dad doesn't want to move out of their house, whether they've been in there for 50 years or for 2. They don't want to go to a facility. They don't want to go to an assisted living facility, even at the sort of the lighter stages. They just want to be independent in their own house. And a lot of times that turns into resistance to having help in the home because there's a lack of
strangers in the house. Yeah.
Strangers in the house. They don't want to come to that realization that maybe I do need somebody to help me out. We work with mainly the family, the sons, usually the eldest daughter, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, to work with them and work with the parents to say, hey, look, we're not here to take over your life. We're here to make sure that you stay safe, that you can get around. You can go to doctor's appointments if you need. You can go to the store when you need some food. We can help keep things clean around the house and that sort of thing. And that's really the kind of comfort level that we provide.
And I know in my family, it has always been one of the spouses passed away. Mm-hmm. And that's when they realize, you know what, I can't do this on my own. Is that what you see a lot of?
Yeah, typically because, and it happened with my grandparents where my grandmother took care of my grandfather for I'd say probably about 6 years when his Parkinson's really turned him into somebody that needed help. And so typically the spouse will take of the other one for a while. Although what I do see a lot of now is, you guys mentioned this earlier, the people that are 70, 75, 80, they want to have active lifestyles. They want to go out and do stuff. They want to be with friends. They want to go visit family. And so you'll have one partner who has either a mental incapacity or a physical limitation, and the other one that is perfectly healthy. And so they still want to be able to go do things. They want to go shopping. They want to go visit their kids in another city or state, but they need somebody to take care of their husband or wife for a few hours a week, whether it's 8 hours a day, twice a week, or something less than that. But they want to have that flexibility.
Well, that really frees them up, because I'm sure it's very frustrating for the active spouse to not be able to do anything. Do you provide Alzheimer's care?
We have a couple of Alzheimer's dementia patients that we do provide care for. What we do in that situation is, first of all, it's an understanding with the family of what this entails, making sure that the family understands what's going on. A lot of times there can be denial because you want to remember your mom as you were when you were a kid, and they don't have those abilities at this point. But it's understanding with them, and then also we do a lot of training with our caregivers to understand, how do I deal with somebody that from one moment to the next doesn't remember me, doesn't know why I'm in their home, doesn't know what I'm doing there. So we have to deal a lot with that. And so we do some strategies and training with our caregivers.
And that was one of the things that we spoke about, obviously, earlier in the week, was your hiring and training that you do is actually very, very unique in the sense that, number one, you only hire on CNAs, is what you told me. And then also the training that you do, the ongoing training and education and how you bring somebody on board. Talk a little bit about that, because that's pretty interesting.
Well, our industry is a kind of an interesting industry. What a lot of families that we talk to that have had experience with home care providers tell us is their main frustration point is a company that sends out a new caregiver every 2 or 3 weeks. Now, this happens for a lot of different reasons. And going into starting up the business, that was one of the things that I heard about a lot and I didn't want to have to deal with. And so what I did is I set up a system for weeding out people that I thought, how do I figure out how to get rid of people that are not going to stick around for too long? And of course, we've had a dud or two, But most of our employees, we've got employees that have been with us for close to 2 years now since we started the company. And then everybody else that we've got has been with us since we started that client. And part of that is our hiring process, number one, we only hire CNAs, which is a state licensed individual, means they have a license on the line that we can check.
What does CNA stand for?
It stands for Certified Nursing Assistant. Okay, so it's not a nurse, but it is somebody that understands basic life-saving techniques, understands how to transfer a patient, how to move them without injury, those sorts of things. So we purposely wanted to go out and get people with those types of skills as opposed to just simply somebody to show up. And the process that we've done in that has reaped a lot of rewards in the fact that we don't have a whole lot of turnover. I've had employees that have left with proper notice, but they've also come back to me. They've come back a month or two later and say, hey, you got something for me because I'm ready to come back to work for you. So we've had very good success. Our core of employees right now are rock solid people. They show up. I very seldomly have issues with clients calling me talking about my caregiver. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really happy with it. And, if I don't have problems with my caregivers, you're not going to have problems with them.
Right. It's a growing need right now because I think the baby boomers are 80 million. And then, of course, when we have the echo boomers, they're also 80 million. Of course, they're at the other end of the spectrum. So I'm seeing businesses like yours are going to be blossoming. There's going to be more of them and things like that. What distinguishes you from the other people out there?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's our employees. And I know a lot of people might say that just as a regular reaction to it.
But if it's true, it's true.
It's actually true. I talk to my employees at least once a week to just about every single one, if not once a week, every other week. I go out and I visit my client sites at least once a month. I make sure that I'm in constant contact with the families. I don't do it just to bug people, but I make sure that they know what's going on, that they understand what's going on with the care with their family members. And we just take a personal approach. Everybody has my cell phone number, so you don't have to call into the company and go through the directory and that sort of thing. Call me directly on my cell phone. You text me, you email me, barring me being on vacation halfway around the world, I'm there within half an hour if you need anything. So it's a very good personal touch. I want to keep it that way as long as I can as we grow. It's not that difficult. If you do good service, you don't have problems. So my philosophy is just stay on top of things, make sure everything's running smoothly. I like to call the families before they call me.
You also have a very good history of putting one caregiver to really get to know the family and integrate in with the family versus it being switched out, which was one of the big complaints they had at the very beginning, you were saying. And talk a little bit about that. Why do you do that approach of, or how's that approach worked out in reference to being able to assign one caregiver to the family?
Right. Well, typically what happens is, so there's a couple of dynamics here. One is not all of our clients are 40-hour-a-week clients, which means that when we put somebody on let's say an 8-hour-a-week job, they've got to have other clients to fill out a full schedule. Everybody's got a right to earn a living. So we do sometimes move around people if need be. It's not very often, but usually it's in consideration of the employee so that they can earn a living. But generally, where most of the turnover comes over is people quitting. Because we hire good people and because we take a little bit less home as a company, we spend the money on our employees, but that helps reduce that turnover rate. And, if there's a problem with the caregiver, we'll move them out. We usually don't have problems with anybody, so I haven't had to really do that. But we're happy to make sure that there's a good personality fit. A lot of times is a very important one, especially for somebody that doesn't have a lot of the limitations that a more, somebody a little bit older might have.
What's the number one thing you want somebody to remember about New Frontier Home Care?
Well, I just want them to remember that we're here to help solve family problems. Not family problems, but your problem at least
that problem.
as what to do with your mom or dad as they age. And we're here to really help you do that in a compassionate way, one that takes into consideration the desires of your parents. A lot of people want to stay independent, and we do it with pride. We make sure that we have the best people out there that we can. And we give you personal service.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break right now. Sorry about that, Joe.
That's all right. I'm saying the same thing.
We will be right back.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. Time flies when you're having fun. We're up against our last segment right now, and it's a segment after my own heart as well.
And we are talking about working with seniors
Working
in
with
real
seniors.
estate and their needs and concerns.
That
So-
is correct. And one of the things we always get, I can tell you from a finance perspective, I get a lot of phone calls a lot of times, and people will call in and say, hey, Chris, do you offer reverse mortgages? And the very first thing I say is, call Gary Wood. That is who you need to. How you doing, buddy?
Great. Thanks for having me in.
Thank you very much for calling. Let us know a little about who you are and what you do, if you don't mind.
My name is Gary Wood. I head the reverse mortgage team at Pro Lending Mortgage. We're located in Webster, but we do reverse mortgages all over Texas. And what we do is we help folks that are 62 or older who would like to have more money coming in for their personal finances. We help make that happen for them.
And do me a favor, describe what a reverse mortgage is.
Reverse mortgage is a HUD program. It came into being during the Reagan administration, and it gives the senior homeowner a cash advance on a portion of their home equity. And they have several options to choose from in which to receive their money, and they continue to own their home, they continue to live in their home, and their monthly principal and interest payment is optional. They don't have to make that every month. They can pay all of that at the end of the loan term, which is 6 to 12 months after they sell, move, or pass on.
Wow. And do you have to have a home that is free and clear to do this? Or not?
No. In fact, I took an application this past week, and the homeowner's main goal was to get out from under their current mortgage. And so we're going to pay that mortgage off. Because they had a substantial mortgage, we're only going to have enough money to do that. But they'll be getting out from under their monthly home payment, which would really increase their monthly cash flow.
And the reason I was asking that, I had no idea until my father called me up about a month ago and said, I just completed my reverse mortgage. And my first question was, who'd you use and why you didn't tell me, right? But the second question was, but Dad, you owed money on the property. I did not know that you could actually... What he essentially did is he retired the debt without having a monthly payment anymore. Didn't take any cash out or anything. He had plenty of equity in his property. He just didn't want to make a monthly payment anymore.
Right.
And so I didn't realize you could actually do that.
And one of the things I was curious about, they pass away. What happens to the property?
Well, the property is part of their estate. So whoever owns the property, whoever inherits the estate owns
Needs
that
to call
property.
Kim.
Right. Right. But that's kind of the triggering event that once the homeowner stops living in the home, then the loan becomes due. And they have 6 months to pay that off. And that can be extended 3 months and then another 3 months at the discretion of the lender. But what usually happens is the children will sell the house and pay the reverse mortgage off and pay the closing costs and then divide the proceeds that remain. But the lender doesn't care if the house is sold or not. They just want to be paid off. So if there's life insurance or some other means to pay the loan off, they can do that. Or if one of the children wants to keep the house, then they can get regular mortgage from Chris, and that can pay off the reverse mortgage, and they can just start making payments.
Do you see a lot of that where they'll have the bank or the mortgage company to be the beneficiary of an insurance policy that it'll be paid off upon their demise, something like that? Where the insurance will pay it off. You see that happen a lot.
Sometimes we see that happen. I'm working with the client now where her father is the homeowner and she's the caregiver, and she wants to remain in the house. And I said, well, is your father in good health? And she said, yes. I said, well, get life insurance. He needs to get a life insurance policy that will cover the cost of the reverse mortgage. Then when he passes on, you can pay the mortgage off and own the house free and clear. So there are different strategies you can use.
What's the number one thing that people misunderstand about a reverse mortgage?
Sometimes a lot of what I get is that, well, if I do this, then the bank owns my house, or I won't own my house anymore. And I said, well, when you bought the house, did you have a mortgage? Yes, we had a mortgage. Well, did the bank own your house then? Who owned the house? Well, I own the house. I said, it's the exact same thing. You were the owner of your house. The person that had the lender that held your mortgage held the first lien. And so that's what we do. You continue to own your house, and your first lien is with the reverse mortgage lender.
Now, I know that you and I talked outside of this when we had called to invite you on the show, and you had talked about what great timing it was because there was a lot of big changes headed down dealing with reverse mortgages, specifically in Texas.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Two big things are on the horizon. One is really close. Starting October 1st, for applicants that get their FHA case number assigned October 1st or after, they're going to get about 15% less. because HUD is changing the program. They're always in an ongoing effort to keep the program or make the program as self-sustaining as possible. And so there are a couple of steps that a homeowner would have to take before they get their case number assigned. And the main one would be to book and take their required reverse mortgage counseling, which is an hour and a half by phone, and get their certificate of completion. Then I can take their application and get their case number assigned. That's really quick. So if anybody's listening that's interested, they would need to use me or somebody else to make that happen like very soon, so we can get your case number assigned within the next week. And the other thing that's happening is in every state, including Texas, a homeowner can get a reverse mortgage on the house that they're currently living in on their primary residence. But in every other state but Texas, a senior can buy a house and a realtor can sell that house to them with a reverse mortgage for purchase loan. And that is where the reverse mortgage is your home loan. That's your regular financing. And there are a couple of advantages to that. It's easier to qualify for, and like with the reverse mortgage refinance, their monthly principal and interest payment is optional. So November 5th is Election Day, and on the ballot, that's going to be one of the items statewide, is that it's going to be up for a vote to amend the Texas Constitution to allow reverse mortgage for purchase in Texas, just like every other state has always had it.
That's a pretty big deal. It
Yes.
would impact how people buy and sell real estate in Texas, so that's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
From a selfish motivation here is, now, it's something I did want to say. I'll give you a testimony that I've known you now for several years, and you're kind of the stereotype of a guest we have on the show. They're all experts. They're all people who really know what they're doing. That's who we invite on the show. But I wanted to give you a little personal testimony. Gary, in reverse mortgages aren't credit based. So from that standpoint, you and I aren't referral partners. We don't refer. You don't send folks to me because they have credit issues that are unable to return to get the loan. But Gary wanted to drive all the way across town to sit down with me, so that he better understood what I did as a credit improvement company, so that he could better refer clients to me when he did come across those people. He wanted to make sure he had that knowledge level to be able to communicate that to his clients, and it shows that level of concern and care about what he does, so he's better informed. This is a testimony to do what you love, because 3 years later, here we are, and he got invited on the show. He made that much of an impact on me as a person who cared about what he did, that as soon as we had a show about this, I'm like, we got to have Gary on.
Yep.
So here you sit. But as credit hasn't been an issue, is that one of the things? Is there something on the horizon about that? Because I seem to think that you had told me something about that.
Yes, there is. And next year I will be sending clients to you, Joe, it looks like, because there will be a financial assessment starting in January on all reverse mortgage loans. And it will probably be lesser than with a regular loan, what people that do what I do call forward mortgage, like what Chris does. But as of right now, we take a credit report, but we just do that to see if there are liens that are going to affect the application. There's no financial assessment per se, but that's going to change in January.
What's the loan limit?
The loan is a percentage of the appraised value, and it's based on the homeowner's age. And the older they are, the higher that percentage is. And for a 62-year-old, for example, it's about 62%, and for a 90-year-old, it's around 77%.
Wow.
Well, we're coming up to the final minutes of the show.
Our lightning round.
And we want to make sure we always, we want to give our guests an opportunity to give a parting thought. If there was, one last thing you wanted to share with the guests.
And I want to lead one of ours, because I had a big question of Kim, is there a lot of people think that you have to be rich to do a trust, and you had a great answer for that.
Most of my clients do trust in wealth is not an issue as far as a taxable estate. They do trust for young parents, you can take all those beneficiary designated assets and put them in the trust and control them if something happens to the parents. For our older clients, it's maybe to protect their kids against predators, creditors, divorce themselves if they're not good with money. So they don't want to leave them a lot of money and have them blow through it. So there's a lot of issues in why people choose trust, and there's a lot of good reasons for doing so.
Kim, right now we're coming against our lightning round. Do me a favor. Let us know, 20 seconds or less, what do you want everybody to leave this show knowing about you or what you provide?
Well, thank you. I would like for people to know that we offer free consultations, they can call our office at 281-218-0880. We have 7 locations where we see clients, so they don't have to drive down to our main office in Clear Lake. And we want to give everybody an opportunity to really sit down and look at their finances and do the right things as far as their estate plan.
That is great. How about you?
Thank you. You can reach me at Prudential Anderson Properties, and I help all age groups find, real estate and to meet their individual needs.
That is great. Jason, you're 10 second or less.
Well, we're here to help families and help make sure that your parents stay comfortable and safe at home. And you can reach us at 832-602-2282.
That is great. Gary?
I can be reached at 281-542-0562. That's 281-542-0562 for any questions.
As usual, it's always a great show. We had a great time. Everything in regards to seniors. Get out there, look us up on Facebook, or go to our website, realestateratpack.com. Till next time, we'll talk to you soon.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.